Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Welcome in. Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd. Your home for Minnesota sports entertainment, speculation, and therapy. And a Feedback Friday here, part 2. Or part 1 if you're listening to the other part first. It's whatever part you want it to be. We've got some Twins-related stuff to get to here, gentlemen. You can always hit us up through the SKOR North app. There's a feedback tab. And you can just send us anything you want. Questions, comments, concerns, critiques, whatever it is you got to get off your chest. You can send us messages throughout the week. We try to get to as many as we can across both Mackie and Judd and Purple Daily on Fridays. You can also send us messages to request being on Write That Down midweek. Let's start with Josh Carey here, boys. Happy Twins home opener day here. Mm-hmm. Josh says what's that?
Nothing.
No, go ahead. No.
I was going to say right back at you, but you were starting already, so it's fine.
Sorry. I'll leave more space. I was going
to respond to it, and then it's fine. Let's just go.
All right. Josh Carey says, I'm not sure if you guys heard this news today, but Bally's defaulted on their 2023 Twins rights payment this week, and MLB sued them today, according to The Athletic. So things are going really well between Sinclair. We keep saying Bally's. Poor Bally's. Bally's are just paying for the naming rights. It's Diamond Sports.
Yeah.
Right?
I keep telling you, if I'm Bally's, I'm like, give me my money back, man. I'm out.
Right. Or give me my brand back.
Yeah. I don't want to be known as a bankrupt corporation.
Yeah, it's not their fault, I don't think. But there's a big brouhaha happening here. It sounds like if resolution isn't met by April 13th, MLB could take control of Twins games away from Bally's, which may also eliminate blackouts in our local market. I'd love to hear your guys' take on this on the show. So there's also a big article in the Sports Business Journal about this. And so Diamond, which owns and operates the Bally Sports branded sports networks, made payments on time to at least 8 teams in the past week.
No respect.
But not the Twins or the Guardians. Yep. One reason for withholding the Twins payment is not so much the size of its rights contract, but the length. The Twins deal with Bally Sports North ends after the season, and sources say the team has not been receptive to cutting a new deal. What will happen in the coming weeks here? Because you gotta have the games have to be on. You got to serve the cord cutters and the non-cord cutters, right? Well, but then there's also the aspect of like revenue coming into the local team that they've been used to getting for the last,
that's
2 decades.
So there's a bunch of potentially, if this continues to play out as it is right now with the Guardians and Twins, there's a lot of unanswered questions. So what we know is this, Cleveland.com actually had a story about the Guardians, which is just essentially parallel to the Twins situation last weekend. Number one, it sounds like MLB, so not the teams themselves, but Major League Baseball is prepared to step in here and help produce games. Their point being is that they've done this for quite some time with like their own network. So it's not foreign to them. It's not I think in their mind, it's not that difficult. Like it would take work, but it would also cost money. My question is this, and Phil, we've talked about this for years and years. A lot of the revenue that comes into teams is from their cable package and satellite package. So if the payments aren't being made, there's payroll questions then too. Like they pay players from that. That's not some like ancillary package of, oh, we got this extra cash. It is lifeblood type currency. I also would be curious, and I should check because I could probably find the answer to this. I'm also curious what the distribution, like let's say April 20th, that the Twins and MLB are producing games. Just to be clear, in Cleveland, and I'm sure it's the same here, the talent would remain the same. So it'd still be Bramer, Morneau, that cast. That wouldn't change. But what I'm curious about is what the distribution platform would then be.
Correct.
Like would it be MLB.com?
But there has to be a streaming option, and there has to be an actual like cable or just like local. Could the games be put on like Fox 9 Plus or Channel 45? Because I'm assuming if Bally's is defaulting on these payments, and by the way, according to Fangraphs, who put together the most recent list I found of all 30 TV deals, the Twins, this is the last year of their 10-year deal or 12-year deal, and they bring in about $43 million a year from Bally Sports North in revenue,
which is
actually
low.
bottom 5 in baseball.
Very low, yes.
It's only ahead of the Rockies, Brewers, and Marlins, and then the unknown Blue Jays. They don't know what the Blue Jays TV deal is.
Nobody knows.
I guess it's hard to
Been
find.
trying to find out for
TV
years.
Deals. Yeah. So if that money is no longer coming in, I would assume the Twins are going to like get into a lawsuit with Diamond Sports to try and get that money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But in the absence of that, couldn't they just put the games on any channel? If it's MLB, wouldn't they just want the games available to as many people as possible?
Well,
both
I think
streaming and terrestrial?
I think the answer to your question is yes, but the thing is this. If they were going to put it on an over-the-air channel, so, let's say 45. Fox 9 Plus, they would then almost certainly have to buy that time to show their games because they're producing the games. Now, they would want to then sell the inventory within those games to recoup the commercial dollars. So the Twins would essentially want to control the telecast.
Yeah.
But that would also mean that you wouldn't just be given the airtime for free. You would have to buy that.
Unless the local TV channel, if there was some sort of, hey, we take X percentage we get 2 commercial breaks ourselves. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, but you still pay.
It's cleaner to just pay.
Still pay. Yes. So it's, but my guess is that if they don't, if this continues like before May, we'll see something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll just, try and maintain status quo.
I think they'll have to either go through an established partner that people and fans kind of have already access to. So MLB.com, makes the most sense, I guess, just from that side of things. Or, do they strike a deal with ESPN Plus or Apple TV where, a fan might have to pay for that, but at least there's a thing that's readily available and sports fans are accessing that. And there's principal deals already in place with the league with those 2 respective entities. So I think that's also a route for them where they have to figure out. And that's probably a short-term option. I'm sure they might go back to the drawing board in the off season to try to figure out this long-term. But I do think short-term that would make sense to put it on one of those platforms too.
So, but for the Twins it might. But here's the problem across the whole league. In the NFL, because it's all nationally televised games, and they have obviously regionally televised games, but it's all national TV deals. A deal with Fox for the games, a deal with NBC, CBS. They split that money across 32 teams, the TV money. In baseball, every team is in charge of its own TV deal. So you have teams like the Dodgers that bring in $240 million a year on their TV deal. The Twins bring in 43. The Angels, the White Sox, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs all bring in 9 figures, over $100 million per year on their TV deals. Again, the Twins bring in $43 million.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the top teams in the league, the big markets, and you say, hey, we're going to do what MLS did. We're just going to screw all this regional sports network crap.
Yeah,
let's just put all the games on one platform, ESPN Plus or, what have you, Apple TV, and then we'll just split it all equally. The Dodgers are like,
no, you're not going to do that. Yeah, you're not going to do that.
No. So I don't know how they untangle. This is a mess for the league. But it's even more of a mess for the Twins because they don't have a broadcast partner for 2024 or maybe even for the second half of 2023, and they don't have that revenue coming in.
That's what I was going to say. That's the real problem. I think you can solve the broadcast partner part of the problem, but if Diamond Sports Group says we can't pay you, we're not paying you, we're done with your games, we're booting you off and you're leaving. That's a great question because, now we're talking payroll. We're talking, that's how you pay your players. This is not a nice chunk of extra change. This is a fundamental, when you sit down at the beginning of the year to do your books and you sign players, this is a huge piece of that pie. And so that's where it gets to be super intriguing. I think you're right. I think they probably would certainly have to sue them. But the problem is, if they don't have the cash, they don't have the cash.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? What's the fix? All good questions.
So real quick, according to I believe this is Statista. The Twins brought in 2021, the Twins brought in $260-ish million in gross revenue. The local TV money was like 20% of it. So you take, and I don't know what their books look like, but you got your ticket revenue and your gate and your concessions, and you got merchandise, and there's probably some other licensing revenue that comes in.
Yep.
And then you got your local TV deal. So it's a big chunk. It's a big chunk.
It's a big problem.
Yep. Okay, Cody Condon chimes in here and says, this is via the SKOR North app, and says, I'm not a huge Twins fan, but thought you guys would find this interesting. It's the cumulative weight of every team's roster ranked 1 through 30th. That's right. Someone went through
Oh my God.
and literally added up the listed playing weight for every player on every baseball roster. Where do you think the Twins rank? And how much do you think the Twins roster weighs?
Oh God.
So obviously, guys like, I know Buxton actually put on some weight over the last few years, more muscle. I think like Buxton and Taylor and Polanco, like those aren't big guys necessarily, but Gallo's huge.
Vasquez is big.
Vasquez is a big boy. Oh man, losing Sano kind of helped, but maybe
Yeah.
it didn't. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
with
not so much. Yeah.
out of the 30 teams, they are in the top 10.
They're in the bottom 10, boys.
Bottom 10, okay.
They're one of the 10 lightest teams in baseball.
They're not very,
Yeah.
they're not across the board. They're not that big now. They're pretty sleek.
So it's funny, there's actually only a 400-pound gap between the heaviest team and the lightest team. So the Brewers weigh 5,640 pounds.
Well, of course
That
they
makes
do.
sense. That
They're in
makes sense.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
Correct. They're all just eating cheese curds.
And
they
beer.
always have like 3 guys who look the same.
Yeah.
Daniel Vogelbach.
They have like 4 Daniel Vogelbachs on
He's
their team.
played. I
Yeah.
swear he's played for the Brewers for my entire lifetime. Like for 20 years, basically, of me being
Well, they've
a
always
baseball
got a
fan.
fat guy. They've
Yeah.
always got a fat guy.
For
going
sure.
back to
Carlos Lee, Prince Fielder.
Stormin Gorman Thomas in my youth at that time was a very big man. Now he's not he wouldn't be as big, but then he was huge.
The Kansas City Royals are the second heaviest team, which is no surprise. All those great barbecue joints.
Salvi.
Dude.
Salvi's a big guy behind the plate too.
And then the third is the Pirates, which you may think that's kind of random, Pittsburgh, but isn't their thing putting French fries on sandwiches? Isn't that like
right.
Sounds right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so if everyone's just putting French fries on every sandwich they eat, then yeah, you're going to
They're
have
the
a heavy
Phillies.
baseball team.
Little cheesesteak action there.
Yeah, the Phillies are smack dab in the middle at 17. The Twins, by the way, weigh 5,399 pounds, which ranks 21st in Major League Baseball. That is slightly heavier than one adult male rhinoceros.
Oh.
Okay.
One right now. Okay.
Yeah, so the more you know.
Knowledge is power.
That's a lot of work right there by somebody.
Brian Lamoureux chimes in, says Declan does not have season tickets. 20 games a year is not a season ticket holder. Wow. Get off his high horse and just buy tickets when you want to go. What are your thoughts, guys?
Whoa. Jeez. Well,
are 20-game package holders season ticket holders in your mind, Judd?
He was included in it's partial, but yeah, I mean, you are included in a lot of the benefits. So I guess if you want to be hardcore about it, no, he doesn't. But like
Brian is being hardcore about it right
by
now.
today's standards, yes, he has a partial season ticket. Yes.
I mean, I have tickets to 25% of the home games.
Well, you don't actually.
Well,
Yeah,
I did.
you gave him up.
I did.
In fact,
And
we
your rep is-
the Twins caught wind that Declan has a podcast now too, and I think they might be mad at you.
Victoria's pissed. Let's call a spade a spade. Victoria is livid at you.
You've made it a little awkward now, or maybe they did. I don't know, but it's
I think
awkward
they
between
did.
the Twins and Declan because we've talked about this on our show.
I have to pick up a media credential here in a couple hours to go to opening. What if that's revoked? Like what? I mean, my
I'm
God.
not going
I
to
hope
revoke
not.
your credential. That PR.
You don't
department has
know, baby.
no
That's the
idea.
hardball they're playing. They won't even
PR
let me come into the
department
ballpark in the press
no
box and
idea.
eat the pretzels and the free soda, or drink
You
the
just
free
wait.
soda.
You are going to get some sideways looks in that press box. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah, because of this guy.
Well,
No,
the mustache
well,
is
that
probably like
too.
the third thing they would look at
Yeah.
you sideways for.
I think it was the sideways shots that you took at the poor beat people all off season long
What are you
while I tried to
talking about?
defend them all.
I didn't do that. That doesn't sound like me.
let's rank us in order of how many shots we've taken at local media brethren on the show. I think Declan probably ranks third.
I'm
but
third.
But you're definitely not like
Oh
unscathed.
yeah. Well, and I was, and I piled on in my Tom Bernard appearance on Thursday as well. So
What?
Oh yeah, we were talking about. Tom said that he thought that we had a great
Oh my God.
media market here and like coverage of things, and
No.
I tended to disagree, and I said, yeah, I don't think so. And then Stretch was on, and of course he just lambasted the entire group. So
He lambasted the local Minnesota sports media.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
You know, I was on.
It was good stuff.
I did my Friday hit with Tom Bernard today, and Kent Herbeck's on at the same time as I am. Just a couple of Minnesota baseball legends, Phil
Right.
Mackey and Kent
Yep.
Herbeck.
Buffalo, Minnesota, and Bloomington, Kennedy.
Yep. And they were joking that like apparently Joey Gallo was also the name of like some famous New York mobster from back in the day.
Oh, funny.
Okay,
Is it accurate? Maybe.
I
Sure.
don't know.
I'll trust it. And so Kent and Tom were saying you should, when you go in there as a credentialed media, which has been a while, like I used to cover every game as a beat writer for 4 years. I'm much more inclined to just go like grab a beer and watch the game in the crowd than sit in the press box. But you should go and ask Joey Gallo about sharing his name with some sort of like famous mobster. And I said, I don't know that I'm like welcome there right now. I feel like we've been so critical of the Twins the last 2 or 3 years that they don't exactly roll the red carpet out for us because we're not.
We get our credential access. We can go in the clubhouse. I don't know
Okay.
if I'll go in the clubhouse today. I'm going to ease my way in there. I'm going to, just baby steps. First is the press box, then maybe a post-game access. Maybe if I'm feeling up to it, I'll get early for a pre-game access. Maybe I'll even do that.
What's funny about that, about 10 years ago, I think it was my last year on the beat, and I wrote a big article at the end of the season because I had gotten some information that there was going to be some major coaching staff changes and there was some unrest in the clubhouse, and it was kind of toward the end of the Gardy era. And I wrote a big piece about some of the coaches that likely weren't going to be brought back and contracts that were expiring. And I came in the next day, to do my job and write about the Twins. And Mike Herman was the head of Twins PR at the time, and he pulls me aside and he goes, head on a swivel today, Mackie. That room is not happy with some of the things you wrote. I'm like, I appreciate the heads up. But the funny thing about athletes, like baseball players especially, they get all mad, like, oh, when's that Patrick Royce going to come in and show his face, right? But they don't actually do anything. They just want to look you up and down. They just want to look Judd up and down for the rant he went on or the column that he wrote.
They
for,
don't care.
SKORNorth.com.
The majority of guys that play don't give a damn.
Yeah.
In fact, it was around 2005 or 6. I was covering the Vikings. And I realized the only thing players are cognizant of, or were at that point in time, ESPN. If you went on and said anything about the team, the locker room knew it. But if you wrote in the Star Tribune that this was the worst collection of human beings to ever grace the face of the earth and they were just useless, they never saw it. They'd be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? I mean, athletes don't care about anything but like the major platforms.
I think social media has changed that. I think they definitely read the comments and the @ replies and stuff, and they get a general sense, but they don't necessarily read your article.
They don't know.
Pioneer Press, whatever.
It's very odd. It's very, very odd.
A shout out here. It's finally, I think today it's like 50 degrees high on this home opener day here. Golf season is around the corner.
Yes, it
Judd
is.
just dropped a golf ball off his desk, it sounded like.
No, I just dropped a hockey puck.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
I thought you were like me. I like to keep the ball in the chamber when I'm swinging because usually, old 2-shot decks, if he duffs the first one, you might drop in a second shot. I don't do that at the Meadows at Mystic Lake, though, because typically, as I've even did a nice little film piece for, I actually drill some putts and I hit some nice chips at the Meadows at Mystic Lakes. Humble brag there. You can get
That's just a straight brag, actually.
Just a straight brag. The
humble
videographer
at
was like, I thought you said like you only shoot 100, and I said I do, but I guess you put a camera on me. And like Brooks Koepka today, the pressure's on, and all of a sudden I start performing a little bit.
Who's this about?
You can get the frequent player cards, Zolgad. Get a frequent player card.
I like that.
Save on tee times. Get 3 weeks in advance. You can book these and buy these at golfthemeadows.com as we get closer and closer to golf season. You can book that tee time. Go to golfthemeadows.com to learn more.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see here. let's go to this one from Corey Larson. Mackie, can we add a strikeout category for when someone has a check down and write that down? For example, Declan's prediction of Kirill Kaprizov will play in a regular season game before the playoffs start is a total check down. If he doesn't end up playing, Declan should have a mark against him. It would also incentivize Judd to check down less often and allow you and Dex to hold him accountable. I'm not totally sure how it would work. Maybe if Judd makes a check down prediction, you and Dex call him out for it, and he can be given an opportunity to add to his prediction or risk getting a strikeout if it doesn't happen. We generally are against adding more categories to make write that down more complicated for the audience. But I do think there's a certain integrity aspect of sometimes on the show, people care more about their statistics than the show. And maybe it is time at some point to put an accountability metric in.
Kirill is back, by the way, so he'll play tomorrow. So that is happening. So that I won't get burned from the check down gods. He will play against or on Saturday for the Wild. So that will happen.
How's
I
Eck?
mean, Eck is not good. That is a week-to-week injury. That
I'm
is
very
actually
worried about
bad
Erickson
news
Eck.
about Joel
I think
Erickson Eck.
I think his foot's broken.
But regardless, with the state of his question, I would understand it. I think,
What's
sometimes,
the line?
yeah, we have to. Well, yeah, I think it's more of we can't allow the prediction to happen. Like, remember with the one time, and we've all been guilty of checkdowns, but my opinion, the most ultimate one, at least since I've been on the show, is when Judd said Miguel Sano will hit 5 home runs over like an 8-week period in June. Remember the 5 home run?
Yeah.
Like, Judd, of course he's going to run into 5 balls that he'll put Park over the fence.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an egregious
So
check
I
down.
think there has to be a conversation just internally of you can't make that prediction. You have to add to it. I think that is we just can't allow a check down like that to happen.
So it's a kind of an accountability of we can call out a check down as it's happening, and then 2 people can force that person to either defend it and explain why it's not a check down, or they have to add to it if they get called out.
So if this was last week, Declan could be called out and would have to say Kirill Kaprizov will play in a game and score a goal or 2 goals.
Yes.
There'd have to be
If we call him out and saying, no, dude, integrity of the show, that's a check down. You're stat hunting.
Okay.
Your box.
I mean, I think this could get
score.
ugly. I think this could pit friends against each other.
well, that's already happened.
I think that this could be basically a Housewives type of show, but that's fine. Let's do it.
Okay. Austin Herdina here with the last one for now says, why change the name of the show from Mackie and Judd to Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd? It's a good question. Some people might have noticed a little bit of different branding on the show here this week on the YouTube channel, on the podcast feeds. And the 3, I guess the 3 C-level executives of the show, which is us, me, Judd, and Declan, put our heads together. Mackie and Judd is such an old radio show name. It's like 9 years of Mackie and Judd on 1500 ESPN or whatever it was. I think it was like 6 years or something. And we see so many people that had no idea that we did a radio show discovering our SKOR North content or Purple Daily content on YouTube and other digital platforms. We just wanted to open a gate for if you are typing in in Google or podcasts or YouTube, Minnesota Sports or Minnesota Sports Podcast. You have a better chance of finding us if the show is called something other than just Mackie and Judd. So that's kind of why we did it. It's a slight tweak. Mm-hmm. We're still Mackie and Judd.
Mm-hmm. It looks good.
It's still the same show.
The branding looks good. It's very fresh.
It's like a storefront inviting people that have never heard of Mackie or Judd
Yep.
into the party here.
Who are these guys? What are they all about?
Yeah, they're all about Minnesota sports.
That's exactly right. Minnesota sports.
So nothing. The show is the same. It's nothing overhauled here, but it's just a slight little tweak to invite newcomers into SKOR North and Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd. So, all right, there's your feedback Friday. Hopefully we solved all the world's issues here, and you can send us messages for next week. We'll get to as many as we can, and happy Target Field opening weekend to everyone. We'll see you Monday on Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd.